And we're live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever the case may be in this bright, wonderful world we live in. It is the Aloha Hour once again, and as always, I am your host, Mike S. Miller. Today with me, I have a couple special guests. Mr. G Ship himself, Gary Shipman, you are all familiar with. Say hello, Gary.
Hello, Gary. Hello, I'm Gary. I am the comic book artist who has created the comic book series Packin's Land. Come over to my stream if you want to.
Always pimping, always pimping. And for the first time, my good friend James Rochelle, formerly of Wildstorm Studios, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. James, introduce yourself.
I'm James, and I've worked on comics and video games for quite some time, and hope to do so for a lot longer, I guess.
Good plan. Good plan. Yeah, James and I have known each other for a quarter century now.
At least.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, time goes by fast.
Yeah, more Wildstorm stories.
Yeah, I got plenty of those.
Cool. Do that. Let's burn some bridges tonight.
Oh, that'd be pretty easy for me to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James is always that guy in the corner listening.
I wish I was just listening. I unfortunately was talking a lot too.
All right, let me pop my screen up here. So James, what have you been doing as of late since you're I don't know, just introduce yourself to the crowd a little bit.
Mostly just been working a normal job, but just recently I did some freelance for a company called Titmouse, which I guess they do lots of Cartoon Network and other stuff like that and currently working on a portfolio and working on a independent comic book. Been doing a lot of exploration, sketching, and practicing, and I'm about ready to actually start producing something. So we'll see how that goes. You good?
Are you working right now?
I'm actually retopoing a. Actually, I can grab, since my camera's mobile, I will show you. Hold on. So, in video game world,
we're getting busy.
Yeah. Video game world, this is called retopoling. I'm retopoling a spaceship that will eventually. Actually, I think I can. Hold on. I can just crop this here. Maybe. Don't have a lot of control over that, but yeah. So essentially, there's going to be a lot more spacey goodness on this as I turn on all these parts.
So that's just basic architecture there prior to texturing?
Yes. So as you can see, it's very spaceshipy.
Very spaceshipy.
Yes.
Excellent.
So now, go ahead.
When you do start working on your comic, are you going to be importing a lot of like 3D models and stuff, or is it all still just going to be traditional?
I'm actually thinking about, since it's a space adventure, I'm thinking about importing a lot of the stuff that's in there as permanent sets. That is something that's worked pretty well for some people. Since I've worked in concept art,
John Byrne's doing that for like ever. He was doing that decades ago.
Yeah. So was you probably remember Brandon Peterson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was doing stuff like that for Crossgen.
Yeah.
Right now the name of the title escapes me, but he did some pretty revolutionary stuff at the time.
Oh, he did a lot of his Iron Man, War Machine covers and stuff like that. Similarly,
yeah.
I have one of his art, couple of his art books. Every time I see him in San Diego, he gives me one of his art books.
Same here. Yeah, if you guys
Want
look
to take
back
a
there, right, that shelf right here.
Here's one. Holy cow, this thing is beat to crap. I don't know how. I don't know how this got so beat up.
Yeah, hold on a second.
It looks like the kids were using this as a cutting board or something. Sorry, Brandon.
That's funny.
Yeah, so like here's some of his Iron Man stuff. He just made a model of Iron Man and started squirting them out for covers, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. See, ta-da!
Is that? Oh, that's the other one. Yeah, I got this one.
If only he knew we were plugging him right now.
I know, right? I haven't seen him. He wasn't at Con this year, was he?
I don't remember seeing him, but I didn't get around a whole lot at Con this year.
Yeah, you know that video we did together, I had to delete it because I said something that I'm not going to say again on stream that my wife wasn't wanting me to say.
What did you say, Mike?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I was going to say it.
Yeah, Brandon's great. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's one of the people that kept me relatively sane at Crossgen while I was there.
Oh, yeah. Crossgen stories, too. James has been around.
Yeah, that is true. I have been around.
Got any good Crossgen stories? Do you have any good Crossgen related Mark Wade stories?
Ooh. Not really. The only one that was the only Mark Wade story that I really have is that there was this weird time when there were several different times where things were in upheaval. Like there were strange things afoot. People were leaving. People were getting hired. People were changing allegiances. It was like Game of Thrones up in that shit for a while. And one of those times I had like a little clandestine email with Mark Wade. And all I remember is that the conversation just abruptly ended and he didn't answer my email at one point.
Did you anger the Wade?
I think he probably didn't know if I was like a double agent or something like that. Because it really was sort of in that situation there. Now, what's funny is that like I always wear my heart pretty much on my sleeve. Mm-hmm. So like I'm never a double agent, as it were. If I'm like talking about one thing or another, it's pretty much how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if he thought at the time my paranoia made me think like, well, not paranoia, but my I have a somewhat of an instinct of being like a permanent underdog, as it were. So I sort of thought what I did is I just brushed it off as thinking to myself like, well, I just wasn't on Mark Wade's like radar as far as being like, you know, a person, if that makes any sense. Like I wasn't any kind of superstar. I was just a colorist on one of our like lowest selling books. So it's not like, you know, what I felt like is he was thinking like, well, what am I talking to this guy for? And that was pretty much that. Now, I really don't know him that well, so I could be completely off base in one way or the other, but that was basically my only interaction with Mark Wade while he was at Crossgen.
Did you hear that one story about like him? Well, no, that's never mind. That's getting into gossip.
Now he wasn't there much longer after that particular thing. It was things were already kind of going sideways with his with his tenure there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I didn't know. Did he leave before the ship began to sink?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it was, to me, having been a part of sinking ships before, the writing was sort of on the wall at the time that I decided to leave. But other people didn't necessarily see it. But we were already in situations where we were behind on payments to freelancers, some of those freelancers being friends of mine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was one of those things where I was like, well, you do realize when you're in a company and it's losing money and you owe outstanding hundreds of thousands of dollars to people, you do realize it's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know of very many companies that have ever pulled themselves back from the brink when they're already in very dire financial straits. It usually just starts getting worse and worse and worse.
Marvel did it. I think they did it by selling themselves to Disney or something, but
they made Marvel made some savvy business deals, and Marvel, like DC, has something that no other company on the planet has, which is characters that have been crafted by the finest artists in the world for the past 70 plus years. So those IPs are stronger than anything, and it would take pretty much mismanagement to an epic level for them to not be able to salvage something out of any kind of company problem.
Well, that seems to be the direction they're trying to head.
I can't disagree with you in the fact that, in my personal opinion, both companies do tend to occasionally do something that boggles the mind as far as they all have a wealth of stories. Like, they own all of these stories that are just crafted by basically artists in their prime, who just for a freelance paycheck oftentimes develop something that's just insanely great.
Yeah.
And they can upon times, or not upon times, they can often look a gift horse right in the mouth and shoot it in the head, at the same time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, did you hear what they did to the creator? I can't remember his name. Creator of Ghost Rider.
Creator of what?
I'm getting a crazy echo right now. The creator of Ghost Rider.
Oh, I heard a little bit about that. Did he die just recently?
Oh, not that I know of. I just know that so, like, people are always talking about, hey, how can you get away with making, art prints and selling art prints of like Marvel stuff and whatnot. And I'm always like, well, they've only ever sued one person, and that was the creator of Ghost Rider.
Wow.
Because he sued them first,
right,
to try to get the movie, to get some points on the movie.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, you're going to sue us? Well, you've been selling Ghost Rider commissions and art prints for like 50 years, so we're going to sue you because we own it. And so they sued him. He owed them like 70 grand and was never allowed to sell anything Ghost Rider related again.
Wow, that does seem like a bit of a low blow.
Yeah. That's so that's not cool.
And it's not cool. And the thing that's interesting about that is Ghost Rider was one of the first characters that I really loved when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a huge Evil Knievel fan, so it just stood to reason that a guy with a flaming skull and a leather jacket on a motorcycle was kind of appealing to me.
Yeah. I can dig that. Gary, you just drawing along?
I'm just hanging.
Just hanging out.
Hanging and listen to the stories. It's like listening to radio. So how are you coming along with what you're working on, Mike?
I am on page 43, so I haven't got a lot done this week. I really want to get this done before I go to New York, because I mean, I really want to get this done before the end of the month. And what is it, the 22nd today? Yeah, so I don't want to jam myself up on a schedule and turn in less than my best work. But at the same time, I'm conscious of the schedule I have set for myself.
Yeah.
It's hard. You got to be disciplined about this sort of thing.
I'm learning.
Yeah, people do not. It's always amazing to me. Well, not amazing to me. It's a very small group of artist monks that work professionally in this gig, in this business, and do it on a consistent basis. You know, there are a lot of superstars who get away with only doing covers here and there, or maybe a special edition story every once in a blue moon. But places like Crossgen and Wildstorm and some other places where we're working with the guys who actually could do it on a monthly basis, it gives you a healthy respect for work ethic that people have, because this is not easy at all.
Yeah. You know, I don't think I've talked to you about like the way things fleshed out at CrossGen, but I've always had this idea that Mark, he was like 10, 15 degrees off course from really creating like the next Marvel or DC.
He was close in a lot of ways.
Just missed it by that much. I think, well, from my outsider perspective, I think his wanting to create that studio and spend all that money on all, I mean, you can freelance guys out. You don't have to have them on these crazy, insane budgets or whatever, and just spent too much money too quickly. But, you know, having the kind of money he had he done it in more of a reasonable tone or you know, financial tone, I guess, however you want to say it, he really could have pulled it, made it last quite a while and grown it out, I think.
He had a vision, and there's something to be said for, I can't say that what you're thinking or saying is wrong, but I don't think that it was necessarily the artists on staff or even the organization per se that caused the problem. The biggest problem was caused by, in my opinion anyway, trying to expand too fast. He wanted it all. He wanted it fast. And I feel like he felt like he had to have it fast, like he had to be constantly in the upswing, constantly on the offensive, when doing something like comics, especially when you're going up against what I was talking about before, which are companies that have established properties that have decades and decades and decades of stories by the greatest creators in the industry under their, you know, in their vaults.
Yeah.
James, they're wanting to know your contact information in the chat.
Who?
In the chat, they're wanting to know your contact information.
Oh, like as in my email address or something?
I guess, yeah, maybe.
They mean like your social media or your YouTube or whatever.
Oh, I don't really have a YouTube right now. That will be coming, I'm sure, one of these days soon. But you can always reach me at jlrochelle88 at gmail.com.
They just mean for following you on social media, and generally speaking. It's kind of what we do in this community, is we like pump each other up and we try to build each other's you know, profiles.
Cool. Yeah, you can find my, I have to create an art channel for myself on Facebook, but you can find me on Mike's Facebook profile pretty easily. I'm the one arguing with him.
Yes, James and I don't agree politically on much, except for when we're out having a beer or something, and then magically all of the disagreements find this weird middle ground. It's like we're humans or something.
I think we found middle ground online a few times too. It's there's a few sticking points here and there, but for the most part, I don't think we're that far apart, or at least as far apart as we think we are.
Well, I'll see. I haven't been on Facebook hardly at all for the last few months. I don't know if you noticed. But like I'll see you posting something like just rather mendacious about Trump or something, and I'll just be like, whatever. Like I don't even want to get into it.
I actually stopped posting about that stuff. Found it rather cathartic. Recently. Well, not recently. It's been a while. I kind of gave up on trying to be a vanguard of politics on that forum. Like it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So
you're not going to change anybody's mind.
What's that?
You're not going to change anybody's mind.
Exactly. Pretty much, I'm not going to change anyone's mind. Whatever important thing I have to say, somebody else is probably saying it. I probably heard it from somewhere else anyway. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I have to concentrate on art. So I've been doing more Instagram. And just posting from Instagram onto Facebook.
What's your Instagram, James?
Oh, geez. Probably just James Rochelle.
You don't know your Instagram name. You're not good at social media, James.
Rochelle, Jason, maybe? Yeah. Social media fail.
Mr. Busby says he found it. So, so on YouTube, you have people in the chat. I don't know if you're watching the chat at the same time, but we have a live chat going on. If anybody has any questions for James,
Chester found his
Facebook page.
Yeah,
right. He's got. I mean, he worked at Wildstorm. He was in the thick of it there. He was in the thick of it at Crossgen. So if you guys have any questions you want me to throw at him, just let me know. So they're in the chat, and then you can give people moderator status on the chat, and they can post links and stuff to your guests or to whatever. Just better not be porn.
Yes, of course not.
Yeah. So like right now we have 105 people watching us talk about the good old days.
The good old days.
The good old
Mike's house.
Again with the barbecues. Always the barbecues.
Almost becoming Mike's neighbor near a golf course in La Costa.
Oh yeah. That's right. What happened to that?
We got outbid by a widow who had a lot more money than us. That particular apartment.
Gosh, do you remember the price of the houses around there at that time?
$800 a month for a very large 2-bedroom master suite apartment off of a golf course in La Costa. What?
1,400 square feet.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's got to be going for at least, I'd say, $2,700 a month now, at least.
Yeah, but dude, that on La Costa Avenue, dude, there were like a dozen houses for sale, and I went and checked this one out. It had like, floor to ceiling marble, floor to ceiling windows, the looking out on the golf course, and like, just totally freaking beautiful, decked out, everything. It was $250,000.
Yes, I remember that. I remember when I was working at Presto Studios. At Presto Studios, I had 2 roommates, my friend Steve Kim and my friend Kiko, who works for Penny Arcade. And at that time, I remember I got a pre-approved loan from my credit union, and at that exact same time that I got that pre-approved loan, a house went up for sale in our neighborhood, a canyon home. It was a large 3-bedroom, 1,750 square feet, huge backyard overlooking Penasquitos Canyon. And it was only going for $220,000. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to pay that for a house. Oh, to be young and dumb.
Oh man, no, dude. Okay, so when I first moved down here from San Jose, I had like been saving money because I was, I was working for Eric. I was making $250 a page inking. I was doing like 3 pages a day. I had like $12,000 saved up in a bank account. I had marked, I'm gonna buy a house. There was this condo on Washington Street in Mission Hills. It was like $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't do it, like an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I know that you always figured that you'd be a family man and such, but for me, at the time, I was thinking like, well, you know what? I'm probably just going to be a bachelor forever. Why do I want to own anything? Why do I care about that kind of thing? It's just kind of dumb. It's a waste of money. And yeah, and going back, I was like, man, I could have been a real estate baron at this point.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, as they say, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie indeed. Let's see if anybody had any questions for you. Better not be Savage Dragon. No, I worked on Freak Force. Freak Force. Actually, I did do my own Savage Dragon miniseries called Savage Dragon Red Horizon.
I remember that.
Yeah. Just thinking about that today, actually. Oh, hey, yeah. You know what? I do have a topic for this show, actually. Have you seen the Joaquin Phoenix Joker yet?
I have.
You have. Well, here, I'm going to share. Let me share screen real quick. Here, let me lock it on me. Share screen. If I can get this thing to work. All right. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna mute this.
I can actually choose a screen, right?
On your phone?
No, on my on Hangouts I can choose my screen, right? Because I have three screens.
I think so. I think so. Here, I'm just gonna play it for those who haven't seen it. This is just gonna be the visuals. I'm not gonna play the sound, but Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. What are your thoughts? Can you see what's playing right now? I mean, a lot of it, some of it's just these people talking about it, but what do you think? Hold on a second. I think I've got Gary, unmute yourself because I muted you because your family was being really loud. This is interesting.
Oh, I see. I saw him with a red nose.
Oh, you see it right now, though?
Yeah, I see it. It looks like he's Ronald McDonald.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a transitional look or something. It's certainly not my favorite. But I think Joaquin Phoenix is going to be a great Joker. And I'm really curious. I'm curious what they're going to do because, it seems like DC can't do anything right nowadays.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Talking to a friend, I believe Paramount and Warner Brothers, at least in my opinion, have forgotten that both of their universes were an alternative to Star Wars and Marvel. They're not supposed to try to copy them.
Well, DC and Marvel have been copying each other for 75 years.
What's that?
I said DC and Marvel have been copying each other for 75 years.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's sort of the bitter Star Trek fan in me, too. So there's always that.
Stop streaming. Let me close that out. So yeah,
Well,
that's
Mike, I'm
that's
getting really tired, so I'm gonna bail on you here. Sorry.
all right, Gary. Thanks for swinging by.
Yeah, sorry I
Oops,
didn't
darn
have sorry I didn't have more energy, but thanks for having me on. God bless you.
You
It's
out of
good to meet
gas.
you, James.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Barbecue. Color theme looks like John Wayne Gacy. Weston Duggan in the chat says. Pope Raven says, I think it will be the best movie Joker ever. Is it Martin Scorsese
Martin Scorsese?
directing it?
You're kidding.
I don't know. Somebody said it in the chat. I'm just wondering.
Is it Batman?
I think it's just a Joker origin story, although I don't know. I assume there'll be some Batman in the background, maybe. I don't know.
Can't have the Joker without some Batman. Come on now. Batman was even in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that movie. Oh, I got about half an hour into it, and I'm like, ugh. Which is funny for me because if you know me, I can't turn movies off usually, even like the worst movies.
Right.
I can just watch them to see if they get any better. But oh my goodness, I couldn't take it. It felt like I was watching a really bad music video for just way too long.
Yeah, it's at least in my opinion, movie-wise, it just seemed to never really establish itself. It never established an actual narrative.
Yeah.
It was all over the place, and yeah.
The writing was so bad.
Yeah, Captain Boomerang was not nearly as cool as he could have been.
There was a part I did get to that it just kind of put the nail in the coffin for how bad the writing was when Batman drops down to confront Deadshot in front of his daughter and then says, do you really want to do this in front of your daughter? I'm like, you just did this in front of his daughter. Oh well.
Not the finest moment for screenplay writing.
No, I don't know why Warner Brothers keeps screwing the. I mean, you know, Wonder Woman notwithstanding, they just keep screwing the pooch and all these things, and it's killing me, especially since I was working at DC at the time.
Yeah. Are you no longer on what do you call it?
Injustice?
Yeah.
No, don't you know I'm doing my own book?
Well, I know you're doing your own book, but you're still talented enough to do your own book and another book.
Well, that work just kind of dried up.
Yeah.
I can't say for certain why. And I won't speculate. But yeah, I couldn't get any other work at DC. Nobody would you know, it's funny because, you know, Hank, I've known Hank for my entire career. And I'm like, hey, Hank, you know, freaking shot my stuff around. He's like, yeah, okay, well. And then nothing. And he's like the top guy there.
Wow.
Something else you get when you have enough hours and fans and subs on YouTube are these things called super chats. Are you familiar?
Nope.
So in the chat, someone can pay you a amount of money depending on what they want to pay,
Right.
and then you read their chat on the stream.
Oh.
So Rizzy Toxic Fan Lee for Australian $5 says, "Hey Mike, just wondering who your favorite X-Man or X-Woman. Also, Injustice is what got me into DC, the comic. So you rock, mate. Thanks." I should have said that with an Australian accent. I'm sorry.
Mike, you should never say anything with an Australian accent.
What was that?
All right, your funeral.
That's a knife. That's a knife. My favorite X-Man growing up was Wolverine, but I I just feel like they freaking, well, A, they overexposed him.
Well, yeah, he was overexposed by the time. By the time 91 or 92 came around, he was overexposed.
Yeah, that was kind of the tail end.
Yeah.
But I thought with the movie, they softened him up too much. I think Logan was an attempt to get back to the original Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
He was the closest to the Wolverine I remember as a kid in that movie.
Mm.
And then they killed him. Spoilers.
Hey, well, you know.
Geek Out Loud just got here. Who is doing the 3D modeling? That is my friend James Rochelle. He's a colorist and an artist and a 3D artiste. Worked at Wildstorm for, what, a decade?
No, well, I worked for Wildstorm off and on as a freelancer for a decade. I worked at Wildstorm proper for, I don't know, something like 3.5, 4 years.
Oh, okay. And then he worked at Crossgen as well. So he's been in the thick of it. Chester Busby asks if Edwin is okay. Edwin is making dinner for, I believe, his neighbor or in-law. I can't remember. He messaged me. He said he would pop in later if he could. So no, he's fine. He's just a little bit busy. And last night he just came home and fell asleep because he's been working so hard. So oh, while you're at it, you might as well ask James. This is Joshua Hughes. Ask James who his favorite Teen Titan is, and why is it Raven?
Well, it would be Raven now because a good friend of mine did an awesome cosplay of her. But in actuality, my favorite Teen Titan, you'd have to go way back for a brief period of time when Vigilante was a Teen Titan.
Vigilante was a Titan?
Yeah, for a very brief period of time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Vigilante was my favorite DC character for like pretty much entire run of Vigilante.
I remember having
sounds weird, huh?
I remember having a poster. Remember they gave away the poster at comic shops?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like a lot about that character. And then they did that thing that comic book companies do so often. It's like they decide to change his entire origin, and the character changed to the guy who was like his helper or something like that. Then they got way too philosophical about it. They were like, what is Vigilante? Is he a bad guy? Really a good guy? He's breaking the law? Then it got muddled, and they couldn't figure out what the hell. And it was great because originally it was just a really simple story, right? I mean, it was a rip off of the Punisher, but still, yeah. It had things about it that I really liked. So it would either be a cross between him or Robin.
Right on. Dex Luther, Canadian $2, says, "Hey Mike, I test both Injustice games, like for NetherRealms. That'd be cool, but not at NetherRealms because this is Canadian $2. So NetherRealms is in Chicago." Dead Punk Gage says, "I remember him in the early books, but not him being a member of the Titans." Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember that either. Comic Book Bob is now asking who's using ZBrush. It is my friend James Rochelle. James Rochelle. Yeah, so have you been peeking into this space, the whole Comicsgate thing? I mean, it's probably hard to avoid knowing all the friends
we have. It's hard to avoid the fallout, the ripples of it. But I haven't been knee deep in it or anything. I kind of know. I kind of know the overall vibe of things. It is essentially, if I'm to read it correctly, there's a group of guys who started out as sort of unofficial critics of certain things going on in comic book industry.
Yeah, YouTube critics.
Yeah, and then that transformed into an awful lot of vitriol and fallout one way or the other, and now it is pulled in some of the establishment. I did read the Joe Quesada tweet article, as it were, that was published, and I think the Sienkiewicz one.
Yeah.
I read a few things that is it Van Schrijver?
Ethan Van Sciver. Yeah.
Schrijver. Okay, I didn't know how to say his name. And that's pretty much the gist of most of it. I've kind of stayed out of it because at this point in time, as it stands for me personally, I'm just so not a fan of the business side of what comic books are doing.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not like I can really take an honest side about anything in particular. I mean, obviously, if I feel like people are individually being hurt or something like that on either side by internet, social media crap, I feel bad about that. But I haven't gotten into the meat of it. I don't know what people are specifically upset about. If that would be the question, oh, do you know about so and so being upset about this book doing this? No, I don't. I have no idea. They've rebooted Marvel and DC titles so much that I can't, Mike. I just can't. They're all over the place. I don't even care what's going on. Like the characters, I don't know. Yeah, they both lost me. Both lost me in certain things. I'll still pick up books because I love the artists.
Right.
But right now, there's only a few independent books that I think might be fairly well written. But I'm not going to be like jumping on a bandwagon as far as caring about what happens with Marvel or DC at this moment in time.
And as a fan, going back 40 years, does that bother you?
That they're not making books that I'm particularly interested in. Yeah. That it would be great if I knew that there was something that was coming out consistently that I could believe would continue to come out consistently. That was being considered a phenomenal run of something. I mean, does that even happen anymore?
Not that I know of.
I don't even know. Like, they had like a little kind of a burp resurgence of that when I was at Crossgen, when Marvel was doing some Mac stuff and they were doing a few things here and there. But it's like they made mistakes during that time, so then they retconned everything they did at that time. So anything that was relatively cool that was being produced at that time, basically they just one day woke up and said, oh, okay, none of that ever happened. That was it. That was it for me. I was like, okay, well, if you guys are going to be smart and try to figure out a way to, their biggest problem is they want to keep these IPs going. And it doesn't make any sense that the characters don't age and the characters don't grow. So the format should have switched to something more European or Japanese and, started making logical moves for the characters. And maybe you could tell classic stories about characters. I mean, how long did classic X-Men run? 5,000 years? Isn't it still going? So I don't know. Like I said, when I see pretty art, I usually pick it up.
Yeah.
There's some cool Wonder Woman covers recently that I liked. I can't remember if it's X-Men Gold or X-Men Blue. Recently, that was what's his face? Probably up here somewhere. Chris Bachalo when he was doing Doctor Strange.
Oh, really?
Not too long ago. Yeah. Chris is like my favorite.
Yeah.
And probably one of the most fulfilling freelance runs that I ever did was working on Steampunk. He was a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, I love his art. I love his art.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's just the cookie cutter mentality of corporate comics that I think is it's the suspect for the downfall of comics that I think is responsible for probably 20 years worth of fans leaving the hobby.
Right.
I mean, I go back 26 years, and there's not a whole lot in my entire retinue that I would want to read twice, because it was just, you know, pinch hit this, get this done, you know, find a writer, fill this time slot, and that's not the way to get inspired quality stuff. And it's not. I'm not saying that inspired quality stuff hasn't come out in that time. Obviously, it has. But it's like needles in the haystack.
Right. Right. No,
the stuff that's going on now, the whole argument about the over politicization of Marvel in particular, DC not so much, but Marvel in particular.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I mean, while I believe that is a legitimate concern, it's honestly just that it's the icing on the cake of crap that has been the comic book industry for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I could see that. Certainly, if you're invested in escapism, and the comic books have become, I kind of agree that they always were slightly political, but it isn't like every Spider-Man story or whatever I picked up was overtly trying to make a specific point about some recent political thing.
Right.
When it gets into that, then yeah, you do kind of have a problem, because I'm not sure that's what they were entirely meant to be. In all honesty.
And I mean, when you're using things as symbolism and metaphor, you know, that's one thing. It's like, yeah, you know, Professor X was Martin Luther King's metaphor,
right?
You know? And Malcolm X with Magneto.
Right.
That's great, because you are speaking to the wider audience of every disenfranchised group, you're not just speaking to one particular issue, which seems to be what they try to hammer down people's throats nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Way too often. And I don't even read comics. I just see this stuff because it pops up on my feed all the time, and I'm like, how is this stuff getting through editorial? And then I realize, you know, that like editors are getting on social media and berating fans for not voting for Trump, or for voting for Trump. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, get your freaking politics out of my peanut butter.
That's certainly odd. I don't think I would have expected anything like that when I was reading my uncle's comic books that he gave me. I got into comic books partly because my uncle gave me the remnants of his collection that weren't stolen. There was a few long boxes of Silver Age books, you know, and they had their share of, obviously, here are these writers and artists living in New York in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
But you're right when you say that they would maybe sometimes kind of imply something, but they would never just come out and straight say, certainly not an editor at any of the big two, would come out and say something like, you know, well, you didn't vote for McGovern? What's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah. Well, there was an editor at Marvel that straight up came out and said, if you vote for Trump, we'll remember you. Like a threat. Like, you'll never work at Marvel or something, you know? It's like,
well, how would they know how you voted? Isn't it a secret ballot? Kind of? Sort of?
Well, because people, you know, nowadays, everybody says everything on social media, and they'll screen cap it and make a file and slap you on that blacklist. It's all kinds of fun.
Yeah, I can see that, and that is an unfortunate thing. I was just talking to somebody about that recently. I was talking about the fact that companies use social media to fire people and stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
It started out with firing people for posting pictures of being drunk at parties and stuff like that and all that jazz. And I just think that that's just like so ridiculous. I mean, granted, you shouldn't be doing goofy, depending on the nature of your job, maybe you shouldn't be doing goofy stuff on social media. Yeah. But on the other hand, that is your private page. So how is it that you can be called out for something that you do on your own private page within the privacy of your own life?
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
Well, I think it's because, I mean, like in my case, I set my profile to private.
Right.
If you don't want your employer seeing your private page, don't have a public page.
Yeah.
It's public. It's public. It's not, that's for all the world to see. You've given up your right to privacy when you've published something for the world to see.
Yeah, but I still kind of default to if a person does a good job at work, you're really going to go through their Facebook and find something you don't like and fire them? Like,
only if you're looking to.
I guess so. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, right? You're kind of looking for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more likely the case. Yeah. What was it? What else was it? Oh, another Comicsgate complaint, and kind of one that I think is just a really, I mean, it's something I've been saying since before I even knew there was such a thing called Comicsgate. This whole Comicsgate thing is only like a year old. But this is an argument I've been making for years, and I may have even made it with you at some point, was just the ridiculousness of all of these other than characters. And I don't even want to qualify them as being minorities or whatever, because I don't give a damn about that. My problem is that you have just had the largest media campaign in the history of planet Earth for Marvel characters like Thor and Captain America and et cetera, Hulk. And when kids walk out of that movie theater jazzed to the freaking gills and walk into comics and stuff next to the movie theater and say, I want the latest Thor book, and they hand them Jane Foster. I want Tony Stark. Oh, well, here's Riri Williams.
Right.
I want Spider-Man. Here's Miles Morales. I want Hulk. Here's freaking Korean Hulk, who I don't even know his name. Amadeus Cho. It's like they purposefully took every huge marketable, merchandisable character they had and made it impossible for kids to jump on their stories right now and build the comic market up. I'm just mean business-wise. What a freaking fail.
Right. Yeah. As far as branding goes, then yeah, you're definitely right about that. There's no logic to. I mean, I'll put it to you case in point as to the way things used to run, right? So back in the day, editors used to give colorists. Do you remember there was a point in time? I think it's past. If I'm not mistaken, it's past. Maybe you still occasionally get an editor who's green. Or wet behind the ears or whatever, but it used to be that DC specifically, but even Marvel to an extent, they had certain, they knew what the colors were for each of the characters, right? The shade of blue that Superman was.
Right.
The shade of red that Superman had.
Right, like the number.
Yes. So back when we had just started getting into the mood coloring phase, where colorists like Laura and a few others were starting to add scene color that would obviously change the kind of blue that Superman had. If he's in a blue room, if he's in a red room, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I remember that there was a point in time where there was this titanic struggle where we would get pages back because the editors did not know, hey, they didn't know why Superman's colors changed. They didn't realize that he was on a green asteroid or whatever else, right?
Right.
So I think that it's kind of funny that we went from the hyper making sure that Batman's ears are the right height, making sure that Superman's colors were dead on, to all of that, to just changing those characters completely.
Right.
Like they're not even the same character, let alone caring about super consistency like the comic book companies used to. Because that used to be the editor's job, right?
Oh, they wouldn't let me alter Superman's, because I had this cool, just slight curve, like the S comes up and it goes like this into the thing. I just had it so it maintained this cool curve.
Right.
They wouldn't let me do that.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So that's a totally different world where all of a sudden, Thor used to be heavily like policed and trafficked. Thor looks like this. And then all of a sudden, Thor is anything. He's anything you want him to be. So yeah, I can see what you're saying about that. It's kind of a weird hyper reflex thing. I don't know how much the movies tie in as far as that goes. I know that Marvel probably initially thought that they would have a audience crossover between the comics and the movies. And maybe early on they could have, but they dropped that ball somewhere. I'm not sure where, but the audiences are very distinctly different now.
Yeah, they didn't make that effort. I mean, they should have, honestly, they should have just, they weren't concerned. Marvel hasn't been concerned. DC hasn't been concerned about bringing kids back into this freaking hobby for decades.
Well, yeah, it's because they're focused on short-term gains.
Yeah, exactly.
So the people that are generally the people that run those things, at least in my opinion, they're not so much concerned with the longevity of the franchise or their IP at this moment in time. You get what I had worked for a company that shall remain nameless. At one point, they were funding one of our projects, and we found out that what was happening, because we were wondering why we were getting so much pushback and why things seemed to not be going. Basically, we weren't getting what we were asking for. And we found out that everybody who was involved interfacing with our company and this other parent company who was paying for our project was desperately trying to get off of our project because there was a fatter cow at the main company. So they were all trying to use it to move into a different management slot. And I remember finding out that a lot of the writers and artists were trying to become storyboard artists in Hollywood, and writers were trying to become screenplay writers. So what had happened is there was a lot of people. Really, this is all somewhat hearsay, but it makes sense, at least to me, that when the beginning of the Marvel Studios blow up was happening, when they were finally moving forward, it looked like they were going to be able to be very successful with this. There were a lot of people who were like, "Well, this is get out of the comic book ship, get off the comic book ship, get on the Hollywood ship." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that that's kind of the direction it went. Why care that much about what's going on there when what you're really trying to do is, get an internship at a studio,
a
movie studio or wherever. And who knows? Maybe that's the evolution of the beast.
I don't think so. I think we still need to build out this space. I think they're tapping out all the good stuff that Marvel and DC have had. You know, Marvel can't. When Robert Downey Jr. and Steve Rogers, what's his face, Chris, whatever. When they retire, they can't go back and farm these characters again for a while.
Right. I was just thinking about that, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking that if DC wanted to make its move, it'll be when they eventually definitely lose Hemsworth, Jr., all those guys. You know, they're actors. They're not going to want to be doing these characters forever. They're eventually going to move on, and then you're going to have a little bit of a hiccup there, and that's when DC should make its move, come out with a lot of quality product.
But they can't. DC's screwing the pooch every pooch they get. I'm really hoping that Shazam is great. But man, I'm done holding my breath for that company.
Yeah, I really don't even know, you know, which way the ball's going to bounce as far as that goes. It should be interesting because Hollywood is a seriously unforgiving place. Comic books is actually, like, by contrast, comic books is severely forgiving. But Hollywood, not so much.
Yeah. Okay, I have one point to get back to, but Chester Busby wants to know exactly what you're making. If you want to zoom out and show everybody the spaceship you're working on.
Oh, sure. Hold on.
But my point is that I see that, you know, all these people trying to use comics as just, oh, hold on, I have to, here, let me click it on yours real quick so people can see it. Okay. People just trying to use comic books as a medium to get into Hollywood.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm going to make this comic so that I can have it made into a TV show or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. That's not what I want. I don't know. Have I talked to you about the whole Blacklist universe thing?
Not the universe thing. I kind of vaguely know a little bit about it from just sort of cruising the internet, as it were. But
right. So you know, at least that I, you know, I want to build a whole freaking universe. I don't want to just do one comic and hold my breath and hope that it gets made in Hollywood. I've actually, you know, and part of it is because, you know, I've had to deal with the devil in Hollywood for 10 years now in development hell. And so I would never ever count on anything from Hollywood actually happening.
Right.
And part of it is because I love the art form of comic books, and I really believe that you know, we can create a resurgence if we can find a way to get comics back into places where kids will read them. You know, this $5 book they're selling it at Walmart now from DC. I think it's the best move DC has made in outreach, literally in 30 years.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a $5 comic book at Walmart in an area where kids pick up Yu-Gi-Oh cards, baseball cards, whatever. They're gonna look at that thing and it's got Batman on it or whatever, and be like, "Hey, mom, can, you know, a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards costs $5."
Right.
So it's like, hey, you can get this little pack of cards, or you can get this 100-page comic book for the same price. You know, I think that's going to probably create more new readers of comics than anything DC has done, including, sadly, the movies. Because it's the only thing that's specifically there to reach kids.
Right.
And I really hope it's not just a bunch of collectors going out there and buying these god-awful newsprint reprints, because that's not the point of them, you know?
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, they've done pretty well. Like, you know, they sell through pretty well.
That's cool.
But yeah, in my own case, that's what I want to do. Have you heard of Alterna Comics?
No.
This is a company that's doing these $1.50, and I don't even know how he's making money. He's doing $1.50 newsprint comics.
Really?
Yeah, and he's doing really well. And he's like making a new inroads into this industry, but and finding new outlets to sell them, because that's what we need to do. It's like all of us, you know, who picked up comics in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s, most of us got our comics at 7-Eleven for the first time, or at True Value, or at Albertsons. Or
There's
not.
7-Eleven in Burbank where I used to get my stuff.
That's what I'm saying. You know, that's how we got the kids hooked back then. And then they discovered the comic book stores, and you know, kind of went from Taco Bell to Ruth's Chris, because you can get all the different stuff in the comic book stores. But you know, you have to get them that first taste. You know, that cheap entry point on the newsprint and whatever. And that's the kind of thing that I want to aim for, building out what I'm doing.
Right.
And I know there's other people of like mind in the Comicsgate space. And so it's just funny when you go and you get into these arguments with people on Twitter where they're just like, there's nothing wrong with the comic book industry. And I'm like, bruh, I've been a part of this industry as a fan or a professional for 4 decades. There's a problem with my industry. and they're just, I don't know if they're just willfully blind to it, or if they're so against the idea of Comicsgate trying new things that they're just being contrarian.
It's possible.
Yeah. It's funny. It is funny. But damn it, I'm gonna fix the industry. I'll do it by myself if I have to.
One comic at a time.
One comic at a time, son. That's Walmart being their usual dumb self. Oh wait, there's something going on here. I think they're talking about Peter Cimetti, who runs that Alterna, that it's like a large run. It's 50 cents each for the print run. And so $1.50 he's probably making, you know, he's not making a ton, but he's making a profit.
Well, you know, it depends on what he wants to do. If he's
outreach, man, outreach. And see, that's what I was thinking, whether or not I use Alterna. It might be a good idea to use Alterna, but you know, I haven't gotten there yet. But have you seen how far my Indiegogo's gotten?
Yeah, wasn't it like 80 grand or something?
It's 91,000, 91,500 now, I think. Let me see.
Nice. Congratulations, man.
91,560. Thank you. But yeah, doing this sort of a premiere version, and this whole kind of idea is Ethan's, I think. At least I heard it from him first. But doing this premiere collector's version first, for those who are willing to be early adopters and support the development of new product through Indiegogo.
Right.
And then as we gather issue after issue, as we gather things, a catalog, then break them up into pamphlet-size chapters and sell them, you know, sort of like the newsprint Alterna route, just to get more content out there at the lowest price point, so that people can, you know, kids can actually pick these things up, and then like 10, 20 years from now, those kids aren't saying, hey, let's do the next Spider-Man movie. Those kids are saying, you know, hey, where's the next when's Lone Star going to be a cartoon? When's Lone Star going to be on the big screen or whatever?
When's Mike moving to Texas?
Texas is hot.
It is, and dry.
Yeah, hot and dry. So
Texans. Just joking. Texans are great.
I know, they really are. I noticed that when I moved out there. It was just so bizarre how nice they were compared to Californians.
That's where we differ. I mean, no, not that the Texans aren't nice, but, you know, I run into my fair share of nice Californians.
Dude, even my nice California friends. Okay, here's my example. I drove out to Texas, got to my new apartment, and the neighbors who I'd never met before helped me unload my truck.
Ah.
How much do you have to pay your friends in California to help you move?
At least a few 6-packs and a couple pizzas.
Yeah, exactly, right? They're not just like, hey, you need any help with that? By the way, my name's George. That's Texas nice.
Yeah.
There's a qualified difference, I think.
No, she said that.
So
well, when I moved to Florida, they just my movers looked at me like they wished I was dead.
That was because of the humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you that story about one passing out in the bathroom, right?
Oh no.
Oh yeah, good stuff. They went through about 4 bottles of Gatorade, and while I was trying to unpack one of my boxes in the living room, I just hear this loud thud. One of them had passed out. Now, actually, he was the native. You know, when you move that great distance, you usually contract out a trucker.
Yeah.
You know, they pile in stuff from all across the country and charge you a fee for whatever your weight of yours is.
Right.
So the guy who moved my stuff out to Tampa, when he got out of the truck, I remember he looked at me and he's like, "Why did you move here?" And I felt so bad for him because he was like screwed. You know, he had to move this stuff.
Yeah.
I lived on the 3rd floor. These are things that did not plan out. No elevator, 3rd floor of an apartment complex in Tampa. So they were walking up. Oh, and it's August. It's August in Florida. It was bad news for those poor guys. Bad news.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, the Tampa native at one point. And it rained on them too during the move. One of those midsummer storms. It's great. But he basically sat down with the most dejected and defeated look I'd ever seen in the hallway of my apartment complex. And he was a native.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Not move to Tampa, I guess.
Seriously, man. Yeah, Florida. I got a buddy just moved back out there. I'm like, no, what are you doing? He spends like half his time here, though. I think he lives in Florida half the time because he doesn't want to pay California state taxes.
Oh.
And he's not a billionaire, but
he does well.
Yeah, let's just say when he had like $80 million in Bitcoin, he was like, eh.
That's always nice.
Yeah. I imagine he saves a pretty penny by being a resident of Florida instead of California.
Yeah. 12% off the top, if I'm not correct.
I can imagine. You can imagine. What's going on? Oh, Malin is streaming all on his own. Do you know John Malin?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Yeah, he's another artist in the whole Comicsgate space.
Oh, okay. What does he do? What's it called?
He did the Jawbreakers book with Diversity in Comics.
I think I've heard of it.
And then he's got one going right now called oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Graveyard Shift. Who's John Malin? Malin has the link if he wants to come in. Yeah, but he did like Cable, and I forget what the other books he did at Marvel were. Graveyard Shift ended, did it? No, it's probably still in a store. Yeah, my Indiegogo ended like a month ago, but it's still in it turns into a store. Like, if you let it, it'll convert right into an online store. And so I've done like 20 grand just in the store since it ended. Yeah, like almost exactly. I ended my first 30 days. I did 71,000 something, and now I'm at 91,000. So I've done like 20 grand.
That's pretty impressive,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you have even dreamt of this sort of thing like a year ago? I mean, jeez.
No, there's no way you can argue the fact that that's much more lucrative for an art team to do something like that than just being freelance for one of the big two.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's all through this thing here, this YouTube community that we're creating, that we're building, and it's like John Malin is here.
Hola, amigo.
Hola, amigo. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
This is my friend James Rochelle, formerly of Wildstorm and Crossgen, and now working in video games.
Hello, James.
Now I'm just a loose assembly of pixels.
What did you do at Wildstorm?
I was a colorist.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, worked on, I guess, the catalog, as it were, at the time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Wildcats, Gen 13, yada, yada, yada.
Were you in the opening days of Wildstorm, or like when
Pretty close.
Gen 13 was just coming out?
Pretty close. I was there like maybe, I don't know, a year or so in. They were still in Mira Mesa, which is where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't moved to the La Jolla office yet. I was there.
That was like 92.
No, I want to say it was 93.
93?
When the office first opened. Basically, I was working in the top part of the office before Jim and the rest of the crew moved their offices from Mira Mesa to La Jolla. So when we were there, and I was there through the phases of when they moved us out to Rose Canyon and called us Tsunami, and then moved us back.
Hmm. Yeah, so you missed the where were you in 92 by a year?
Probably. The only thing I can remember is that the first couple of books I worked on were the first Wetworks, and I believe it was Wildcats number 11 was when I first got there.
Yeah, but you were still there in the good days. That's cool, man.
Oh, I like to think of them as good days. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I bet. I was buying all that stuff then. So, just a child.
Yeah, well,
a young kid with a dream.
Yeah,
my name is in there with another cast of characters of very talented people.
I bet. That's awesome.
Yeah, they launched a lot of really cool careers, and it was kind of a magical time. A lot of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. You ever get a color Travis Charest?
Yes, I did.
Oh, nice.
I colored him on Wildcats and I think the time that I remember the most fondly of coloring him in Wildcats was during the James Robinson run with the Black Ops guys. The Black Ops storyline.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is that when he was like going to a whole other level?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. What a great time to work with him. Now, is that how you pronounce his last name? Sheree?
That's how I pronounce it now. we call him Cherist forever, and he never corrected anyone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I heard years ago that it was Sheree, and I was like, and that's what I was, clearly that's what I was saying was Cheris for a long time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
We weren't alone. We worked with him, and we all called him that. The other person that was notorious for that was Joe Kyoto.
Oh, yeah?
Chido.
Right.
Yeah. He never said anything either.
Yeah. Gosh.
Well, I guess I'm kind of the same because a lot of people mispronounce my name. They call me Malin, and it's Malin. So, but whatever. I mean, that not a big leap.
Yeah. I've actually got a fair amount of mispronunciations of my last name as well.
How do you spell it?
Rochele.
Rochoe. Wait, OLE.
Let's see if John's really good at mispronouncing people's names.
Yeah, Rochole. Is that right?
ELLE.
ELE?
ELLE.
Oh, 2 L's. Just say 2 L's, Mike. Rochelle.
There you go.
Damn it.
Well, how'd you say it, Mike?
Rochelle.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just hoping you could pronounce it.
Rochelle. Several things here and there. Usually it's whenever you're calling your credit card company and somebody from India is talking to you. That's usually that's the kicker right there.
Yeah. What are you working on here? You said you do game design now?
I do game art. This is a personal project. I'm doing a spaceship. I'll show you again.
Oh, is this for your comic?
No, actually, this is for personal learning experience. I'm trying to perfect retopoing.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, Ian.
Hey,
How you doing?
Hey. So I'm perfecting retopoing, which is a technical term for retopologizing models. Because in games, you can sculpt something, but it'll end up being tens of millions of polygons.
Mm-hmm.
This nice mesh here is like if I press W and show you, you see how dense that mesh is?
Yep.
That's no bueno.
That's a lot of polys.
Yes, that's no bueno for a game. So you retopologize the surface like this. Now this is still a lot of polys, but I'm cheating because I want it to look nice and I don't care. It's not going to be used for anything except for I might put together a 3D scene and make use of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I'm just sort of learning the ins and outs of taking my time and learning the ins and outs of hard surface modeling.
So, for the people in the chat that don't understand what he's talking about, the more polygons you have on screen at a time, the more processing power your computer or your games console requires to render that item. So like when I was doing work at Ion Storm, like we had a maximum count of 600 polys per character.
Wow. Good old days.
Yeah.
Good old days, right? JC Denton was probably around 400 polys, so less.
Something like that, yep.
Hey,
So
chat.
nowadays you have just millions of them. The processing power is like exponentially bigger. It's crazy.
I always forget to read the chat, but everyone's saying hi to me, so hey, chat.
Yeah, if Tug's in there, I'm gonna ban him.
Is he?
I don't know. I don't see him. I'm looking.
Ian, this is James Rochelle. Ian, what was your last name?
Chung?
Chung. Like Jimmy Chung.
Yeah, like Jimmy Chung.
There you go.
him.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? How you doing, James?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Jim's a fine character. He's a good guy and a very talented artist.
And that boy can eat.
Well, he's the Chinese James Bond.
Oh my gosh. We went to Fogo de Chao a few years ago together. Plate after plate after plate of meat. And I was like, dude, you weigh like $130. How on earth are you eating all this food?
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. It was
He's
crazy.
one of my pals at Crossgen. Me, him, and Justin Ponzer used to, and a guy named Derek Oakland, but now he's Derek Donovan. We played the hell. Oh, Maury Hollowell also. We would play Soul Calibur until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course,
Oh, that's
while we
good
were
times.
working. What's that?
That's good times.
Yeah. We had a Dreamcast in the CrossGen studio, so
nice.
we would raid the fridge.
I
for
still
all
have
the
my
food.
Dreamcast.
What's that?
I still have my Dreamcast.
Yes. We'd raid the fridge for all the food and play Soul Calibur, talk shit to each other. It wasn't Soul Calibur, it was foosball, which we all had signature moves in foosball that we were pretty good at.
James, were you there when Mark Wade was there?
Yes.
It's the first thing.
Give me a Mark Wade story.
I told Mike the only Mark Wade story I have is that a really uncomfortable, like, silent email thing that happened where I think he started the conversation by asking me a question, and it's kind of a probing sort of question, and I answered it, but I might have been trying to be diplomatic about the whole thing, and I'm not sure if he thought I was a double agent or something, but he didn't really answer, and then not long after that he went the way of the dodo as far as people at CrossGen went.
Are the stories of him punching holes in walls accurate?
I never saw him punch any holes in any walls, but I do remember seeing him not looking particularly happy on more than one occasion.
Were there any holes in the walls at all? Mysterious holes?
Not that I remember. I don't remember any holes in any walls. I just remember lots of interesting interactions and lots of tribalism. Lots of tribalism. And then I remember lots of work. I colored. That's the longest run I ever did on anything, actually, was on Negation. I think I did 24, 25 issues.
Nice.
It's a healthy run.
Who was the artist on that?
Paul Pelletier.
Oh, man, what's he been doing?
I don't know. Paul doesn't talk to me.
Oh, no. Story time.
What happened? What happened to the fall?
I was a very unhappy human being at CrossGen. Paul was the recipient of a lot of my angst, and he's a straightforward guy. He's like a main version of Ben Grimm. So it got to the point where it rubbed him raw enough where he was like, you should leave CrossGen because because I was always unhappy and upset and also complaining about things that were going on there. And there were people who were somewhat happy there. So that's sort of
Only
what happened.
somewhat happy?
I would say everybody had a gripe about something.
That's not good.
But that's a company. I mean, that is working at a company.
Pretty
Everybody
normal,
had a gripe. But some people were more upset with things than others. I was one of the really, really generally upset people. But I felt like I'd sacrificed a lot. I left my family back in California, moved out to Tampa, and I didn't feel like I was getting out of it what I expected to get out of it. and I also kind of sacrificed my video game career at the same time, because I went from comics to games, got kind of firmly established and working in games, and then kind of got lured out to Tampa to work at Crossgen, and that sort of put a hiccup in my game career.
What games did you work on?
Before or after? Probably the biggest game that you might have heard of that I worked on is I worked for several years on EverQuest.
Oh, I know that game. Yeah, I used to play Asheron's Call. I wasn't an EverQuest player, but those were the big two back then.
Yeah. Let's see. I worked on an ill-fated MMO called Vanguard.
I played Vanguard.
Yeah.
I played that one. Yeah, it was fun, but
Yeah.
not enough players. Yeah.
Ian was your one customer.
I miss Vanguard. I used to play that with some friends of mine, and we would get on a boat, and just like travel. It was just fun.
Yeah.
There's this whole community of Hellgate London players, another ill-fated game, right? So we had this community, and while we were waiting for Hellgate to come out, we all decided, you know what, we're going to play Vanguard because it looks cool. It's like a next-generation Asheron's Call / EverQuest, and we had a lot of fun with it, but it didn't really last very long, unfortunately.
Well, 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, we only played it for like 1 year, so we lost interest, unfortunately.
James, why didn't you make it more interesting?
I'm just a texture artist. I just make shaders. Well, now I make 3D stuff too, but that's
What else did you work on?
Let's see. The ill-fated.
There's a lot of ill-fated stuff in the video game world.
Yeah. EverQuest Next.
That never came out, did it? Or did it? I can't remember.
It came out as EverQuest Landmark.
Oh, right. And you guys were supposed to make it like this open world sandbox type game, right? Something like Minecraft. It was supposed to be like a next generation Minecraft. What happened there? Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, what'd you do, James?
The story would last far too long.
Did you work on the Atari ET video game?
Not that far back. The first thing I ever worked on was a Disney Imagitrek ride, or Imagineering ride that was I think it was at Epcot Center. It was called Virtual Jungle Cruise.
Was it ill-fated?
Nope.
Ill-fated.
Well, it was actually at the park up until just a few years ago. It was at the park for like over 15 years or something like that.
Nice.
It's crazy. The only other super popular game, I worked on a Star Trek game. It's called Star Trek Hidden Evil. I worked on a game called Myst 3.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked on Myst 3. That was when I worked at Presto Studios.
Yeah.
Let's see. Worked on an Xbox Live game called Whacked.
Whack. Never heard of that one.
It was one of the first Xbox Live games that ever came out.
Wow.
Probably good that you never worked on it. Or I guess you never heard of it. While I was at Angel Studios, I briefly did a little bit of work on Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. Did a little bit of work on something called Midtown Madness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I played that game, Midtown Madness. That was fun.
Yeah, it ended up becoming, I believe, Smuggler's Run, and then Midnight Run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh no, Midnight Club. Midnight Run is
Midnight Club. Yeah, Midnight Club was
is the Robert De Niro movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Midtown Madness was like you drive around Chicago, right, with monster trucks. Yeah.
Yeah. I worked on a coin-operated game called Savage Quest, dinosaur game.
I've heard of. I might have actually played that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in. Remember that brief period of time where Microsoft was trying to bring the arcade back?
Yep, I remember that. Yeah.
It was one of the games that was part of their portfolio for that stuff. You played a T-Rex and you had to eat people.
Yeah, that was a fun concept. It's a fun concept.
Yeah. More recently, I worked on a game called Raid Brigade, which is a mobile game,
Hmm.
and I did some 3D backgrounds and stuff for the Office Space game that came out not too long ago.
I saw the Office Space game. I never played it. Was that any good?
I hate idle games, so from me, no.
Yeah, I don't play idle games either, but it seemed interesting, right? Compared to a lot of other games, at least it was something funny and something different.
Yeah, it was relatively successful. It cashed in on the fact that there's still a lot of Office Space fans.
Yep.
So, for that part, it was actually pretty well done. I guess it did pretty well, but I wasn't with the company not long after it launched. So,
Oh, bummer.
Video games is video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
They like to shed the extra weight once the game's
Oh yeah,
far
they
enough
do.
along. Oh, we don't need you anymore, and you don't need your royalties anymore.
Something like that. Yeah, definitely.
So I don't think you get any royalty for Deus Ex, do you?
No.
Oh, bummer.
That would have been nice. No, I would have had to still be at the company in order to do that.
I mean, you guys at Ironstorm, I mean, you made this tremendous game, Deus Ex, and I wish you guys didn't make Daikatana. I know it wasn't your team, right? It was the other team.
No, that was Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, they screwed up.
Deus Ex was the only game Austin was working on.
Yeah, Austin was good. And
Yeah,
weren't you guys like, you were supposed to make Thief or something?
Maybe after the fact.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like
got done.
it's so funny that you guys are talking because I've been in the industry long enough, and I am good friends with the writer of Deus Ex, Mary DeMara. She's writer now of Deus Ex, the current ones.
Oh, the current one, the current yeah.
Oh.
I love the current ones. The current ones are fantastic.
And you were talking about Hellgate London.
Yep.
And I remember I got to see the downloaded client at Ed Roper's house.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy who ran the studio.
Yeah, Bill Roper, you mean?
Bill Roper, excuse me.
I met him
from Blizzard, originally from Blizzard.
Yeah, he was a producer for Diablo and Diablo 2, I believe.
Yeah. And I spent a weekend at his house in San Francisco. And he showed me Hellgate London when it was being worked on still.
Yeah, they went through so many iterations because I managed to get a job at the Southeast Asian publisher of Hellgate London.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I don't think he likes me very much. Bill. Yeah. Because back then I ran this big fan site, and I was also working at the company at the time, but I started to hate the game because it was really bad, and they were doing a terrible job with the PR and basically lying to the customers, telling them, oh, the patches are coming, it's going to fix this and this, and it obviously wasn't happening. Community was dying. I very openly spoke my mind at the time. I don't know if I should have, but it didn't help them very much, and he gave a call to my CEO, not demanding that I be fired, but he was just mad. He was just really upset that I was writing these things online. So I got a talking to.
Oh, I've had one or two of those before.
Yeah.
An ill-fated talking to?
No, well, it was ill-fated for him because I later on, and this is like so like no one knows about this, but his company, like Flagship Studios, was supposed to get $10 million from a Korean company that was backing him, and I knew that was a bad bet. So I told my boss, don't give them any money. Like, this is all you're doing is throwing money away. And so he went to speak to the Koreans, and they basically decided not to fund Flagship Studios anymore because of my recommendation. I printed out, like, I think 10,000 pages. Yeah, we used a lot of ink from the forums of people basically just complaining about the game. And I used that, or rather my boss used that, all the stuff that I printed out, as an argument to the Korean guy not to give them any of the money.
I'm going to call Bill right now. No, I'm just joking. Other than that weekend that I spent at his house, I'm not actually friends with him or anything.
Yeah.
And
I
I was
hope it's no hard feelings.
I have a friend. I made friends. Hey, Jeff. Did you ever meet Jeff? Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his last name? Jeff Wand.
I believe I did.
Yeah, I think because he was over at my house all the time. And I think he worked at a game studio in San Diego. He came out and lived in San Diego for a while. But yeah, he was a friend of mine at Ion Storm. Dude has stories. I mean, about like freaking. He was working with John Romero, you know, prior to coming down to Austin, and he was working with like Richard Garriott, and like, you know, went to like parties at his house and all this kind of stuff. He's this dude can talk all these.
Garrett as
I don't know
crazy
if
as he
do
seems.
it.
Have you met Garriott? Because he seems
I have not.
he's
Yeah.
like he's dressing up in Renaissance outfits all the time. He's got a castle.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you have more money than God, you just start spending it on the weirdest stuff. So
Yeah, he went to space, right? He paid the Russian space agency to send him up there.
I think so.
If I had that much money, I would probably do that too. So I'm not making fun of him. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I should talk to Jeff and see if he's willing to make these kinds of stories, because he'd tell me stuff in private, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, if you would tell
Publicly.
these stories in public, it would be so rad.
Nice.
Uh,
I think it was at a party at one point in time with what's his face from not Garriott, but the other guy we were just talking about.
John Romero?
Yeah. E3 when I used to go way back in the day.
Mhm.
I think they were throwing a huge party, and a bunch of the guys I worked with at Angel got in, because Angel was one of the. Well, Angel became Rockstar. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
No.
Yeah, Angel Studios when I worked there.
I did not know
Sometime later became Rockstar Games.
Oh, it's Rockstar San Diego, right? That's Angel? Yeah.
Rockstar San Diego.
Because Diego Angel founded it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Diego. No, okay. Now, yes, I have stories about that. but Diego's a Colombian, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I know the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diego is a great salesman, fun boss, connoisseur of tequila.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's legendary that he would basically keep a few cases of tequila in his office.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the time of day, and certainly on Friday, if you happen to be walking by his office, you would get sucked into the black hole of tequila in there. You would end up drinking what he called the sippy whippy, which anybody who works at Angel will laugh when you say that.
Sippy-lippy.
A little sippy whippy, and then the little sippy whippy would end up being you face down at a bar somewhere in La Costa or Carlsbad at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
So yeah, good times though. There were a lot of fun times at that studio.
They're working on Red Dead Redemption 2 right now, aren't they?
Yes.
San Diego, yeah. Oh, that looks really good.
That and if they still do Midnight Club were the two San Diego properties they worked on here. They would do spillover work for Grand Theft Auto too, mostly in coding and QA. But they would do coding and QA stuff here, and occasionally I think they would do some level work, but not too often.
Oh, you know, it's so funny, dude. My cousin Shota came out here from Japan, and we were driving him like from the airport through downtown and stuff, and he's just like staring, and he's like, "It's just like a GTA."
That's funny.
Yeah. Like, well, they modeled it pretty well, I guess.
They did.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Really, really well. And it's weird. Well, you know, I guess it's not really that weird, but it's a bunch of dudes from Scotland who made GTA 5, right? And they nailed the Los Angeles perfectly.
It's probably because they can look at it completely detached from it,
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not trying to capture something they feel. They're only capturing what they see exactly.
Yeah.
Google Maps.
And Google Maps.
Yeah.
But it certainly does. I mean, I grew up in LA. It certainly does feel like it.
So
I
James,
know people from LA who say the same thing.
bringing us back to comics, are you gonna bite the bullet and do your own comic?
Absolutely, sir.
And do you think you want to tip your toes into the Comicsgate realm, or are you gonna keep doing some research?
I am leaning towards tipping my toe in there.
Welcome to Comicsgate. Here's a card.
Membership is free, but it does have a price.
It does have a price. Yeah.
I've heard about the price. No one in comic books likes me anyway. So
Right on. Welcome to
You got nothing to
Comicsgate.
lose. Yeah, welcome to Comicsgate.
And
Yeah. I think it would actually be a good fit, actually, as far as things go as well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I do have access to Mr. Mike, who I trust very much in the world of comic books, to give me at least a little insight on what I might be doing right or wrong.
oh, absolutely.
So,
Nice,
yeah,
good people.
finally gonna tap that resource. I bet you thought I was gonna say something else.
I was hoping you weren't.
It's a kid's show. It's a kid's show.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's a kid's show at 12:39.
Well, this they play it all day long. So I get a lot of people that'll like turn it on their drive to work or something like that.
It's a kid's show with kids with bad parents.
My kid, Isaac's up. He's right here.
It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday. My mom used to let me stay up and watch James Bond films and Saturday Night Live on Saturdays.
There you go.
Growing up in the 80s was fun, right? I mean, you would rush downstairs, or depending on what your house was like, hop in front of the TV just to watch a cartoon, right? Like 8 a.m. straight, just going to be some cartoons on, and you'd watch it until like 11. Kids don't do that anymore.
Yeah, they don't have Saturday morning cartoons. Well, they got an entire network for cartoons now. So there's that. Even though they're not really cool cartoons most of the time.
No, they're terrible cartoons. Yeah, there's like a handful of them that are actually good.
Yeah.
Well, we're just a matter of years away before we can recreate Saturday morning for anyone that really wants it. I mean, you'll be able to get all those cartoons on demand. So you can get, let's see, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. What was that? Caboose, the Get Along Gang, Shirt Tales, Kid Video.
Snorks. Anyone remember Snorks?
Yeah, I remember Snorks. They were like the aquatic ripoff of Smurfs.
Yeah.
No, the Smurfs. That was a good show.
Yeah. Now I remember I hated tennis for so long because I would watch CBS Saturday morning cartoons, and when tennis came on, it meant the cartoons were over. I hated tennis.
Yeah. Sports ball. Here, time to watch some sports ball. Oh, God, turn it off. Give me more cartoons.
What about what was that? American Gladiators? Was that a Saturday?
Yeah, they came on Saturday during the day.
Yeah.
We even got that one over here, American Gladiators, which is funny. I mean, I'm in Malaysia, right? But yeah, we got American Gladiators. Such a great show.
Yeah.
Such a great show.
Yeah, I always loved that tennis ball gun, and you had to outrun the balls from hitting you.
Yep. When I watched that, I would like imagine myself as one of the contestants, right? And I'll be like, "Oh, you did the move wrong. Here's how I would have won." I mean, that's part of the fun watching that show, right? You put yourself in the shoes of the wrestlers, I guess, and try to think, okay, here's how I would have done it.
Oh, it would be so freaking baller if they did a combination of American Gladiators and American Ninja, and you had this like obstacle course where you had to get past each other and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're out of the way at full speed.
That
Or
would be amazing.
or do the American Ninja course with that tennis ball gun, just shooting at you the whole time,
Yeah. Don't get hit.
or get hit.
Yeah, or get hit
the whole
and
time.
not fall down. Yeah.
Shoot him in the face, in the elbow, in the gut,
Hmm.
groin. Be great.
Now, what I remember the most is the fact that there were like two of the American gladiators who basically just destroyed everyone that came against them.
Nitro
Oh,
and Nitro was on them, right?
Yeah,
Turbo?
Yeah.
Was there a turbo?
Turbo and Nitro.
yeah.
it was like, oh man, you picked the wrong straw.
I went to a restaurant today and they didn't offer me a straw.
Oh,
You're in
no.
California?
No, I'm in Michigan.
Oh,
I'm like,
what the hell?
I asked my wife, I'm like, where's my straw? Because she didn't even offer it to me. And she reaches over and hands this placard up about straws, no straws, and like, why do I have to ask? Why when you
I
just
know.
offer?
No, because of one freaking turtle.
Well, customer service. Wouldn't you at least ask?
Yeah.
Say, would you guys like a straw? And I would have been like, yeah.
They're doing it over here too in Malaysia. I know, of all places, right? We pollute like hell. And
Yeah,
we
you
get-
know what? That turtle, that straw, that was a freaking Malaysian straw. I'm telling you.
Yeah, like I could go to McDonald's and they don't serve straws anymore. They're part of this campaign. McDonald's is worldwide. It's worldwide that they're banning straws.
That's the level of insanity. It was one turtle.
One turtle, yeah. I know.
Video. How many turtles are out there snorting straws?
Probably a lot of them. Probably a lot of them, which is why. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we went, I took my mom and her husband out too. And my mom, she's a bit hippie, and she's all like, "Well, the straws are ending up in the ocean." And I'm like, "I'm tired of all this hippie shit, Ma." I said, "When I'm done drinking this, I'm going to take the straw, I'm going to drive it in the ocean, and I'm going to throw it." Oh, John, the environment. I don't give a shit.
Language, boy.
Oh,
My
sorry.
mom sounds the same.
Straw.
She sounds the same.
What was so funny about that whole straw thing is the fact that it snuck up on me.
Mhm.
Like I literally heard nothing about it, and then one day I woke up and people were talking about them already being banned. I
Yeah.
was like, "What's happening?"
Weird, right? Yeah.
I was like, "What's happening? What is happening?"
Dude, James, did you see my flip out when the freaking water ban passed?
Water ban? What are you talking about?
The freaking last time we had an election, the voters of this idiotic state passed this 55-gallon limit per person on
Wow.
water per day.
So
And
how is that
our
actually
governor
measured?
freaking signed it into law.
I don't understand how
Holy
you
crap!
would
I don't even.
calculate it.
Oh, dude, I was ready to leave California. I started looking all over the country for different places to live. I was so freaking done.
Is that per household or what? How's this
Per person, per
per
household.
person? Okay, so
That's
if
like-
your household is like 5 people, then it's 55 gallons times 5, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's dude, that's like a long shower.
Yeah, 55 gallons is not a lot of water.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's
it's not a lot of
like
water.
40 gallons to run one load of laundry.
Yeah, right. And taking a shower is at least what, 3, 4, 5 gallons maybe?
Oh, it's no
Right.
average. It's 18 gallons for like a 8-minute shower.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. So they don't want people to bathe. They just want everyone to smell like hippies.
Essentially. And I couldn't believe that the people of the state voted for that. And
I bet you most people didn't even know what they were voting for, Mike.
I'm sure they
Yeah, it'll be like proposition whatever, right? And you just type yes, press the yes button on the voting machine.
The problem with our politicians on both sides is they never take the time to explain things fully to the public, because then what you would get is people would be like, well, that sounds ridiculous. Why don't we just figure out ways to maximize the water that we have naturally?
Yes.
More reservoirs, more water capture, all that other stuff, because we haven't been doing that at all.
That
Yeah.
would be smart. That would be smart like Colorado does it.
Arizona, Colorado, Texas, lots of places do it. So yeah,
But we don't do smart things here. It's against the law.
Yeah, I think that there's an advisory against doing smart things. Like there's an advisor and everything else.
Yeah.
It's illegal in the state of California.
We have a proposal, Governor. Is it smart? Yes. Get it out of here.
You guys ever watch or ever hear of slow TV?
No.
No.
It's
as
like
in San Luis Obispo,
huh?
like as in San Luis Obispo.
No.
San Luis
It's
Obispo
like
is called Slow Town.
it's a like a Swedish thing or Norway. Basically, it's TV of like monotony. It's like a train going down the tracks, or
Oh yeah, you can Google this.
a guy chopping wood all day. But people find it to be relaxing. And I was just thinking with James here, I was like, yeah, him clicking and completing these dots is very satisfactory.
Slower, you slut.
Yeah.
Seriously, James, you could just live stream this stuff and people would probably watch it all day long.
Yeah, it's meditative until you screw up, James. Don't screw up. See, like this right here. I can watch this all day. Oh, he stopped. See, now you ruined my flow.
I don't understand why California doesn't desalinate its water.
We do. We have one here in San Diego.
Oh, really? I mean,
Barbara.
is it not good enough? What's going on?
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So, Australian company comes to San Diego. They convert one of our old power plants to a desalination plant. The company signs San Diego up to a mandatory deal because, of course, they're not going to do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the problem that they had with this plant and the same kind of plant, desal plant in Santa Barbara. Whenever it rains, the water is cheap. The water is never cheap when it comes from a desal plant.
Yep.
So here's what happens with bureaucracy. Here's what happens when government screws up, which it does often. The desal plant goes online, then we have an epic 2 years of rain. The desal plant water costs something like, I don't know, 40 cents a gallon or something like that, something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. But the water that comes from the sky is free. So we have all these reservoirs in East County, and we let the water evaporate because we're contractually obligated to buy the water from the desal plant because they signed a contract.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Welcome to California.
Everybody wins. Oh no, wait. Everybody loses. That's right.
Wow. That is terrible. That's just awful.
You guys, James is a liberal.
Yeah, I thought
He's
so
just
too. I mean,
rare, rational liberals.
I think most liberals are rational. It's the progressives you want to watch out for.
See,
yeah.
What you have to do is you have to not be a person that believes that government is going to solve all your problems without being insanely diligent. You got to watch government like you watch a child.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why libertarians exist, right? If anyone even trusted the government, we wouldn't need libertarianism. We wouldn't need these watchdogs or industry watchdogs or government watchdogs, anything, right? Because the government would just be working, but it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And if it
broken.
It does for just seconds at a time. It actually gets something right. The second you're back, it all goes sideways. So yeah, I'm not that kind of liberal. I don't believe that, just because I voted for something that it's going to happen. Oh, God no.
Right, yeah.
God, no.
You're a high information voter. Most people, well, I wouldn't even say most people. I would say that the people who do go and vote, many of them are not.
Yeah.
My dad always said, when you go into the voting booth, just vote no on everything.
I must say I have done that once before, at least.
The DJD show said that slow TV is trending for the past 30 days on YouTube.
Really? Oh my God.
No,
you know, like that. It's like that Dr. Pimple Popper. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, don't.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Let's watch that stuff.
Yeah, you get a little. It's gross, but there's a little bit of satisfaction when she gets it.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it was shown to me a while ago, and we were just losing our minds. So, like, why is this popular? Why is this a thing? Why is this #1 on YouTube? Has anyone even heard of this channel before? No, it's YouTube pushing it up for no reason. So
no,
bizarre.
my freaking kids watch that crap. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Mr. Pimple Popper or whatever.
Oh, Monica watches that. I gag from that stuff.
Yeah. Your kid gets it. Your kid gets it.
Messed up.
I'm lost, guys. What are you guys talking about?
This lady, she's some kind of dermatologist, and people come in with these pimples that are
Big ones.
She basically goes in and surgically takes out the entire mass of infection, and it's gross.
Freaking disgusting.
The nastiest thing, and this is quality content on YouTube, I guess.
Wow.
It's like squeezing the whipped cream out of a ho-ho or something.
Yeah, you need to watch it. I'm going to find you a link.
Oh, God.
No, let's not do that.
You can just go to the front page on YouTube and you'll see it.
Toughen up, just like the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
You know, I was gonna say that the whole slow TV thing. There's a genre of video games that are like that. I'm not even talking about simulations. You know, simulations are fun, but they require some exercise in your,
You're
you
talking,
gotta use your brain.
you're talking about idle games?
Not quite. No, I'm talking about games like Euro Truck Simulator. You just drive around from place to place, and it's fully mapped out. They fully mapped out Europe, and so all you do is, you know, pretend you're a truck driver and just drive from one spot to another, and that's the whole game. And that is rewarding for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who play those games. It's crazy.
There are dudes who did that with the flight sim stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty much the same genre, right? It's like a simulation.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, no thanks to you either. I can't play those.
Guys, I hate to break it up, but it's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I do have.
I'm gonna go to bed myself. I'm probably gonna have to do some stuff tomorrow.
All right, James, I'm gonna start throwing you the link if you want to just come hang out, but you're gonna have to get like a headset or a better mic or something because your phone sucks.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, and James doesn't have any good social media, but we'll work on him. We'll get him a YouTube channel set up so people can watch him do this stuff all day.
It'll be more fun when I texture it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. John, give your info.
Yep, I'm John Malin at John Malin on Twitter, John Malin on YouTube, and you can support me by backing my Indiegogo for Graveyard Shift. Thank you.
Ian?
You can follow me on Twitter at Stillgray, SDILLGRAY, and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I talk about video games. It's hypebreak.tv, HYPEBREAK.tv. Yeah, thank you. And there's someone in the chat who said that I should recommend the Euro Truck Simulator to Ethan because his dream is to be a blue-collar truck driver. So I just might do that. Yeah.
Oh, here for you guys who want to actually, you know, my camera, my download speed sucks, upload speed sucks, but that's page 43 I'm working on. Almost there.
Fancy.
Mike Miller, you guys know this is my channel, Blacklist Universe. I do a lot of Game of Thrones videos nowadays. I also I'm at Abacus Mike on Twitter. LoneStarComic.com for my Indiegogo. If you want to go check that out, if you have not already, please do. I would appreciate it. And please like and subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out the door. Thanks, everyone, for being here. This was a pretty chill Aloha hour. Sorry Edwin wasn't here tonight. We'll get him back on next week. He's been a little preoccupied and a little exhausted from work. So thanks, everyone, again for being here. Aloha.
Aloha.